Okay, let's dive right in. If you've been keeping an eye on the home appliance market at all, you might have heard whispers of a big change coming. Today, we're going to break down exactly what's happening with air conditioners, because the way they're made, sold, and priced is about to shift in a really big way.
So, let me ask you directly. Is a new AC unit on your radar for the near future? Maybe your current system's getting kind of old or you're planning a renovation. If that sounds like you, then what we're about to cover is something you absolutely need to hear.
Take a look at this number, 20%. What could that possibly be? It's not just some random figure. It actually represents a pretty significant financial impact that's heading directly for consumers. And there it is. Starting January 1st, 2025, the price of a brand new central air conditioning system could jump by 20%, maybe even more. We're not talking about a small bump here. This is a substantial increase that could add hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to your purchase.
So this isn't just a maybe. A price shock is coming to the HVAC market. And the big question is, why?
Now, it's really easy to just blame inflation or supply chains for price hikes these days, right? But that's not the main story here. The real reason is a fundamental government-mandated change in the core technology that makes your air conditioner work.
It all comes down to what we're calling the great refrigerant switch. See, refrigerant is the absolute lifeblood of an AC system. And the type our industry has been using for decades, it's being phased out by law. And this is the key point. This isn't a choice manufacturers are just making on their own. Nope. It's being driven by federal regulation. Specifically, the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, or AIM Act. This law requires a phase down of refrigerants that have a high global warming potential, pushing the whole industry toward more climate-friendly options.
So here's the switch in a nutshell. For years, the industry standard has been this refrigerant called R-410A. But starting in 2025, all new systems are going to have to use a new class of chemicals known as A2L refrigerants. The main difference? Their impact on the climate is much, much lower.
So what exactly is an A2L refrigerant?
Well, think of it as a new recipe that's way better for the environment and even more energy efficient. But there's a catch, and it's a big one. They are classified as mildly flammable. Now, that one little detail means you can't just drop it into an old system. The entire air conditioner has to be redesigned from the ground up with all new components and safety sensors to handle this property safely.
And that total redesign, it creates a massive cost ripple effect. Let's trace how changing just one chemical component sets off a chain reaction that ends up on the final price tag. Here's how that whole chain reaction works. It starts with the government mandate. That forces manufacturers to pour millions into research and development. Then, they have to completely retool their factories for these new, more complicated units. And finally, like with any business, those huge costs get passed down to, you guessed it, you, the consumer. The final price hike isn't coming from just one thing. It's really a combination of a few big factors. All that initial R&D, the price of brand new safety components like leak detectors, and the massive expense of overhauling entire manufacturing lines. It is a complete system-wide change.
Okay, so that's the why. Now for what's probably the most important part of this whole explainer, what this all actually means for you in practical terms.
So let's just recap. First, every new system sold after January 1st, 2025 will be one of these more expensive A2L models. Second, this is all happening because of that AIM Act. Third, the cost is coming from the redesign. But here are two really important points to calm any nerves. This does not affect the AC unit you have right now. You don't have to replace it. And service and parts for the older R-410A systems will still be available for years to come. The phase-out is for making new units, not for fixing the ones already out there.
So we'll end on this thought. This entire industry shift is a perfect example of how environmental progress often comes with a very direct, very real price tag. And it brings up a fascinating and complicated question with no easy answer. When we make these changes for the greater good, who should ultimately be the one to pay for them? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining this explainer.